Today, we'll debate, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe better than DC? With Bennett, a Marvel enthusiast, and Maxine, a DC cinematic advocate. They're two artificial intelligence personas. Please introduce yourselves, N.
Hey there, I am Bennett, and if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I am all about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've been in love with Marvel since I was a kid, flipping through comic books, and seeing these stories come to life on the big screen has been a dream come true. What really draws me to the MCU is its interconnected storytelling. Every movie, every TV show, forms part of this massive, cohesive narrative that keeps pulling me back in. It's like one big puzzle that's constantly evolving. And me admire how Marvel has taken complex, sometimes obscure characters and made them household names. Iron Man, Thor, and the rest aren't just superheroes. They're relatable characters with real problems and growth that audiences can empathize with. Plus, the balance of humor and action is something Marvel nails every time, making the films entertaining for a wide range of viewers. And diversity and representation are also areas where Marvel is leading the charge, with heroes like Black Panther and Captain Marvel breaking new ground and resonating deeply across different cultures. It's incredible to see this kind of progress in mainstream cinema. And let's not forget Kevin Feige's leadership. His ability to craft an epic yet intimate universe is unparalleled. For me, these elements make the MCU the ultimate cinematic experience, and
Hello, I am Maxine, and I am a passionate advocate for the DC cinematic universe. With a background in literature and film studies, I am particularly drawn to the artistic and narrative depth that DC offers. What I love most about the DCCU is its willingness to embrace darker, more complex themes that challenge audiences to think critically. Films like The Dark Knight and Joker aren't just superhero stories. They're profound character studies that explore moral ambiguity and philosophical questions. DC isn't afraid to experiment with different tones and styles, which I find incredibly refreshing. Directors like Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins have brought bold visions to screen, making each film feel unique and thoughtfully crafted. I admire DC's potential for creating standalone masterpieces that resonate on a deeper level, offering an intellectually satisfying experience that often goes beyond the formulaic superhero plot. Characters like Batman and Wonder Woman are layered with depth and complexity, reflecting the nuances of heroism in a way that I find compellingly rich. While the DCCU has had its ups and downs, I believe its exploration of heroism, and the challenges it entails, offers a robust counterpoint to Marvel. For me, the DCCU is a cinematic universe where storytelling and artistry blend to create something truly extraordinary, and
Thank you, guys. Bennett and Maxine will now present their 3 rounds of arguments, N.
absolutely. Considering Maxine's appreciation for deep storytelling and artistic expression, I'd like to highlight how the MCU balances entertainment with meaningful themes in a way that's impactful both culturally and globally. Marvel has taken bold steps in diversifying its characters and stories, contributing to significant cultural conversations. A real-life historical example is Black Panther, which became a global phenomenon not just for its action-packed narrative but for its representation of African culture and heritage, showcasing a rich tapestry of characters that went beyond stereotypes. And the success of Black Panther lies in how it addresses themes of identity, heritage, and responsibility, resonating with audiences worldwide and inspiring discussions on representation in film. This impact is comparable to the cultural dialogue sparked by landmark historical films that challenge norms and push for societal change. The film's achievements were recognized with several accolades, including 3 Academy Awards. Unprecedented for a superhero film, marking a pivotal moment in cinema history. And moreover, Marvel's integration of humor and character growth across its films keeps audiences engaged without overshadowing the depth of its stories. This blend of entertainment and meaningful storytelling mirrors movements in art and literature that have historically advocated for social reflection through accessible means. In this way, Marvel creates a dialogue that resonates both within its narrative universe and in the real world, shaping perceptions and inspiring viewers on multiple levels. And
certainly, Bennett's appreciation for the MCU's interconnected storytelling is clear, but I believe this approach can sometimes limit its narrative depth. The emphasis on maintaining a singular, cohesive universe often results in formulaic plots, where individual films prioritize setting up future stories over exploring rich, standalone narratives. While the MCU excels in continuity, this sometimes comes at the expense of deeper character exploration and thematic richness. And take Iron Man, for instance, which was a groundbreaking film that kick-started the MCU with its fresh take on superhero storytelling. However, as the universe expanded, some films became more focused on contributing to the broader MCU arc rather than developing unique, standalone stories that challenge audiences on a deeper level. Historically, this is reminiscent of serialized storytelling in media, where the push for continuity sometimes diluted the impact of individual narratives, sacrificing potential depth for overarching cohesion. And films like The Dark Knight, a part of the DC collection, show how a superhero movie can stand alone as a profound exploration of morality and chaos, engaging with complex themes in a single, complete narrative. The film doesn't rely on a larger universe to make its point. Instead, it uses its runtime to delve deeply into its characters and ideas, becoming a cinematic piece that stands the test of time. DC's ability to craft these narrative-heavy, bold films provides audiences with a more varied and intellectually stimulating experience that is sometimes absent in the Marvel approach. Thus, a focus on standalone artistry and depth often takes precedence over a meticulously connected universe.
I appreciate Maxine's points about the potential limitations of interconnected storytelling in the MCU. However, I see the connectivity as a strength that enhances character development and story richness over time. While individual films may serve broader narratives, this approach allows characters to evolve in ways that mimic real-life development, where experiences accumulate and influence growth. For example, consider Tony Stark's arc from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame. Over multiple films, we see a complex portrayal of a man grappling with his identity, responsibilities, and mortality. His journey is not confined to one film but sprawls across the universe, allowing audiences to witness a transformation that's deeply resonant and emotionally impactful. This continuous character development can be likened to epic literature, where characters evolve over extensive narratives, offering depth through time and experience. And moreover, by maintaining a shared universe, Marvel fosters inclusive storytelling, introducing diverse characters who eventually lead their own narratives. Black Panther and Captain Marvel are results of this approach, showcasing stories that address significant cultural issues while still integrating into the MCU's cohesive universe. These films have sparked important discussions on representation and inclusivity, illustrating how the interconnected model can deliver standalone stories that are thematically robust yet still part of a larger conversation. MCU's model not only supports long-term character arcs but also allows for an evolving exploration of themes pertinent to our global society. It's a dynamic way to engage audiences continually, providing both entertainment and a platform for reflection, akin to serialized storytelling's best iterations throughout history.
Bennett brings up a valid point about the MCU's capability for long-term character development, using Tony Stark's journey as a prime example. However, while the MCU thrives on gradual transformation, I am inclined to argue that DC's capacity for standalone storytelling achieves equally powerful character exploration within individual films themselves. This approach allows directors to craft distinct visions without the constraints of a larger interconnected framework, resulting in films that are artistically bold and thematically rich. Film Joker exemplifies how a singular narrative can offer profound insights into a character's psyche and societal themes. By focusing intensely on Arthur Fleck's transformation, the film provides an in-depth exploration of societal neglect and mental health, resonating with audiences on a psychological and emotional level. Its standalone nature allows the narrative to delve deeply into these issues without needing to tie back into a wider universe. This mirrors great works of standalone literature or cinema, where one focused narrative crafts a comprehensive exploration of its themes. While the MCU's interconnected storytelling creates evolution over time, DC's films like Wonder Woman also show that a singular story can impact culturally and emotionally within its own bounds. Patty Jenkins' direction provides a fresh take on heroism and female empowerment, succinctly capturing compelling narratives within a 2-hour frame, demonstrating that standalone films can also spark significant cultural conversations. DC's willingness to experiment with different genres and tones, each film standing on its own merit, fosters a diverse cinematic experience that invites varied interpretations and intellectual engagement. In this way, DC provides artistic diversity and thematic richness that complements, and sometimes surpasses, the MCU's extended storytelling approach.
Maxine, I appreciate your passion for DC's standalone storytelling, and while I admit that films like Joker deliver a deep dive into character psyche, you could say that's just one bad day in a clown suit, right? The success of a single narrative is commendable, but in the age of binge-watching, sometimes we want more of a 6-course meal rather than a single exquisite dish. Sure, DC shines brightly with intense character studies, but Marvel has mastered the art of showing characters grow and learn over time. Take Thor, for example. He's gone from brash god to wise leader, all while keeping his hair salon on speed dial. It's the kind of development that allows characters to revisit themes and reflect growth in a way that singularity cannot achieve in one sitting. And yes, you highlight DC's diverse tones, but let's be real. The MCU has laid out a buffet of genres too. From the spy thriller vibes of Captain America, the Winter Soldier to the space opera coolness of Guardians of the Galaxy, it's like a boxed set of genre chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. To wrap up, while DC scores big with standalone depth, Marvel's strength lies in its evolving narrative that spans characters, cultures, and continents, constantly engaging and delighting audiences worldwide. From a story pizza with everything on it, to a kaleidoscope of genre shifts, the MCU offers a global feast that keeps us coming back for more.
Bennett, I appreciate your enthusiasm for Marvel's continuous storytelling. After all, who doesn't love a good serialized saga? But let's remember, even the best TV shows need a compelling pilot episode. Sometimes it's okay for your favorite characters to take a break from their perpetual universe-saving duties and just, chill with a standalone masterpiece. And while Thor's journey is indeed an Asgardian roller coaster, sometimes that evolution feels like watching a soap opera. Waiting to see what outlandish plot twist tomorrow brings. DC, on the other hand, often delivers each story like an intense Shakespearean play. Whether it's Batman brooding about Gotham's fate or Wonder Woman stepping into the trenches of World War I, it's drama, but without the daily cliffhangers. And Marvel's genre buffet is impressive. I'll give you that, but let's not forget, sometimes those chocolates have coconut, and not everyone likes coconut, am I right? With DC, each film may be fewer in number, but it's more like a gourmet meal, curated expertly to take your taste buds, or in this case, your emotions, on an unforgettable journey. And, in conclusion, while Marvel offers the thrill of constant updates and evolution, DC provides a focused, intense experience, each film crafted to stand the test of time. Both strategies have their merit, but if you're looking for a cinematic experience that punches harder than Superman and lingers longer, DC's your go-to.
Thank you for your speeches. Someone from the audience will now make a question to Bennett and Maxine.
Hi there, I am Jordan, a longtime superhero film enthusiast and someone who appreciates both Marvel and DC for their own unique qualities. I've really enjoyed hearing both sides of this debate, but I have a question that I think might not have been fully explored in Bennett's arguments. And Bennett, how do you feel about the MCU's approach to creating a shared universe affecting the pacing and individuality of its films? Specifically, do you think that having to always connect the dots between movies and shows ever detracts from the pacing or unique storytelling potential of individual films? In other words, does the commitment to the overarching MCU storyline ever hinder the chance for individual movies to develop unique tones or themes separate from fitting in with the rest?
Great question, Jordan. The interconnected nature of the MCU is indeed a double-edged vibranium sword. On one hand, it creates a rich tapestry of stories where each film adds another vibrant thread to the overall picture. However, I can see how this might occasionally feel like it constrains certain films from fully exploring their own unique potential. NTHAT said, I believe Marvel has found ways to strike a balance. Take Thor, Ragnarok for example. It's a film that completely broke away from the previous tone of the Thor movies, injecting a fresh comedic style thanks to Taika Waititi's distinct direction. Even while advancing the overarching MCU narrative, it maintained its individual charm and flair. Similarly, Black Panther carved out its own cultural and aesthetic space, shining on its own while still fitting seamlessly into the larger MCU context. NSO, while the commitment to interconnectedness does require some narrative callbacks and setups, Marvel often gives creative directors the freedom to experiment with style, tone, and themes within those parameters. It's all about playing within the sandbox, but also knowing when to step slightly outside for impact. Sure, it's a tightrope act, but it's one that keeps audiences coming back, eager to see not just the continuation of the universe, but also the unique stories that stand strong within it.
Maxine, I've really been intrigued by your points about the depth and complexity of DC's films. However, I am curious about the role of visual style in the DCCU, which hasn't been touched on in your arguments so far. DC films often have a very distinct and dramatic visual aesthetic compared to Marvel's more colorful palette. How do you think this visual style contributes to the storytelling and themes of the DCCU? Do you believe it enhances the emotional depth and resonance of its films, or are there elements that might detract from the storytelling experience by potentially limiting audience engagement or accessibility?
Thanks for the question, Jordan. The visual style of the DCCU is definitely a hallmark of its cinematic identity and plays a crucial role in shaping the storytelling and thematic elements of its films. DC often opts for a darker, more dramatic aesthetic, which complements the complex narratives and moral dilemmas its characters often face. And this visual style supports the emotional depth and gravity of the stories, creating an immersive atmosphere where themes of heroism, sacrifice, and identity can be explored more intensely. For example, Zack Snyder's visual approach in films like Batman v Superman enhances the mythic quality of these larger-than-life characters, emphasizing their struggles and the weight of their choices with a grandiose, almost operatic style. NHOWEVER, it's true that this approach can sometimes be polarizing. While some viewers appreciate the distinctive mood and the way it underscores the serious nature of the narratives, others might find it less accessible or overly somber compared to the more vibrant and lighter fare of the MCU. That being said, DC's willingness to maintain a consistent visual tone in films like Wonder Woman, which balances the grittiness with vibrant sequences, showcases its potential to blend style with universal appeal. And overall, while the visual style may limit accessibility for some, it tends to reinforce the bold and introspective storytelling that DC is known for, providing a resonant experience for audiences who enjoy film as a medium for both artistic expression and narrative depth.
The debaters now have a minute to talk about something they regret not bringing up to the discussion.
You got me, Jordan. If there's one thing I regret not mentioning, it's that Goose the Cat from Captain Marvel might be the most underrated hero in the MCU. I mean, who knew a fluffy flirkin could outshine entire villain armies? Imagine if the DCCU tried to bring in a cat sidekick. Pause down, Goose would have a clawed victory. And as for Maxine, I must admit, I chuckled a bit when you mentioned the mythic quality of the DCCU with a straight face. I mean, don't get me wrong, Batman v Superman did have an epic showdown, but let's be honest. Martha Gate? Finding common ground over shared mother names is a stretch even Elastigirl would shy away from, and, in all seriousness, I respect the passionate arguments and diverse perspectives. It keeps this superhero cinematic debate as dynamic as a well-timed Stan Lee cameo, and...
Alright, Bennett, you caught me on the goose bit. I have to admit, I regret not bragging about Alfred, Batman's secret weapon, because let's face it, no sidekick's got your back quite like a British butler who can serve tea while dismantling a supervillain's plans with a sassy quip. And as for your mention of Thor's hair evolution as a significant aspect of character development, I mean, sure, his main's journey is worthy of its own saga. But let's be real, when comparing superhero hair, Aquaman has the ocean of hair fandom wrapped around his finger. Seaweed and all, but truly, I appreciate how lively these discussions get with your perspective, Bennett. Just like a superhero team-up, our debates bring together different styles, and yes, even different hairstyles. Here's to the epic ongoing saga of Marvel vs. DC, where fans and their favorite characters can always find common ground in the fun of it all, and...
Thank you, folks. Let's go over to our judges, N. Bennett's scores N1, argumentation strength. 8 out of 10, and Bennett's arguments focused on the interconnected storytelling of the MCU, character arcs, and diversity, offering strong examples like Tony Stark's development and the impact of Black Panther. His points were clear and persuasive, appealing to emotions and logic. However, some arguments were more general and could have been enhanced with additional detailed examples. N2. Rebuttal effectiveness. 7 out of 10, and Bennett's rebuttals effectively addressed Maxine's points about standalone storytelling and the visual tone of the DCCU. His humorous approach and use of examples like the variety of MCU genres work well to counter Maxine's arguments, though occasionally, the humor slightly overshadowed the depth of his points. N3. Engagement and humor. 9 out of 10, and Bennett excelled in keeping the debate engaging with his humor, such as references to superhero hair and Goose the cat. His relaxed style kept the discussion lively and approachable, although at times, the humor could have been more directly tied to his primary arguments for maximum impact. Maxine scores N1. Argumentation strength. 8 out of 10, and Maxine's portrayal of the complexity and artistic depth of the DCCU was compelling, providing examples like the Dark Knight and Joker for support. Her arguments grounded in philosophical and visual storytelling were well articulated, yet at times, could have benefited from more empirical evidence or industry commentary to bolster claims further. N2. Rebuttal effectiveness. 8 out of 10, and Maxine's rebuttals were strong, appropriately addressing the continuity-focused approach of the MCU, and deftly highlighting the limitations with wit. Her response to Bennett's arguments about Thor's development was memorable and cleverly pointed. While effective, additional critique on the MCU's thematic choices could have further strengthened her position. N3. Engagement and humor. 8 out of 10, and Maxine successfully brought humor into the debate, matching Bennett's style and keeping the exchange dynamic with quips about character showdowns and British butlers. This playful banter was effective in engaging audiences, though her arguments could occasionally have woven the humor more seamlessly into the structure points presented initially. N. What are your opinions about the debate? What would you like to see ICE debate next? Keep questioning, N.